All right. Now, our next speaker, how many of you like baseball? Anybody here like baseball? Okay. Our next presenter, he played 7 years in Major League Baseball for the Philadelphia Phillies organization. Had a batting average of 300. He was an outfielder. He hit from the left side. He throws with the right side. And he's here to share with you about how to inspire courage in others, how to wake up your family and friends. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand to your feet and greet Jeremy Snyder!
Thank you, Clay. Well, guys, it's fantastic to be here. I'm honored to be in front of this group with such specialists, experts, faithful people. I know a lot about what Anna was just talking about in my own life, and I'm going to get into a little bit of that. But I think God uses interesting ways to keep us humble. And I was kept humble this morning. You know, I'm thinking I've got this platform. I'm growing this platform that I've put together called J-Slay Made in the USA. And Clay Clark's asked me to speak at the Reawaken America tour. And then I've got these delusions of grandeur that I'm going to go out surfing with General Flynn. Of course, I've never surfed in my life, you know. I don't have a surfboard. I have no wax. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. And here I'm going to go surf. So I get to the beach this morning. And I'm talking to this new friend of mine, a pastor from the media room. His name's Gabe. And he's like, well, hey, we're not surfing. Let's at least run out into the cold water. And, we'll dive in and wake ourselves up. We haven't had coffee. Let's go ahead and play the clip on what happened this morning. All right, that's good enough. I'm embarrassed enough. You know, it's always something. And here's the other thing. So I had this prepared speech. I've been practicing it. It's been on my iPad. And here the service goes out on my iPad. So I have no notes. So we're gonna wing this thing. Yeah, thank you guys. So, you know, God has humbled me in my life. He's allowed me to ride the roller coaster of life to achieve some very high heights that a lot of people never thought I would go in sports and in business and other things. But I've also gone through some real serious stuff, as I'm sure a lot of you have. I've found myself doing things in my life that only a few years earlier I never would have imagined, and not always in a good way. So I want you guys to hold in your mind as I'm talking two things, okay? Deceptions in your life on a personal level and deceptions in the culture and in America, and how the same principles that apply to our personal life and freedom can apply to our public life and our national life and freedom. So we talk a lot about deception in rooms like this, right? And Dr. Robert Malone, as many of you know, he famously and recently said on the Joe Rogan podcast, he said that we are a people under mass formation psychosis, right? Yeah. So I don't even have to say to this group what that is, but to the people at home, mass formation psychosis is when a large segment of society loses contact with reality. Now, typically these people, they have been seduced, they've been hypnotized by some kind of leader or a mainstream narrative in their solutions, and they can be led anywhere regardless of the data proving otherwise. Am I right? And we see this today as even the words mass formation psychosis. If you try to look that up, it's being censored and suppressed by big tech right now. So it's affected all of us, guys, because we see it with our friends, our family. It's created conflict because as we look around us, we think, how can these people that we know and love remain deceived by these lies? And, like I said, it's affected all of us. And it's created some conflict. Now, C.S. Lewis explained this well when he said, as a man is moving closer to God, he understands very well the evil that is still left within him. But as a man is moving further from the divine, he can no longer see at all the rot that is still left within him. Okay? So as people move away from God or as they numb out, they no longer have discernment. They no longer have peace in their life. And guys, I know about that very well, okay? When I left baseball, or actually right before I left baseball, I was right at the top. I got invited to big league spring training. I was leading the team in home runs and RBIs, being an off-the-bench guy. I remember Charlie Manuel goes, "Hey, Sladen, grab a bat." So I go up and grab a bat, and I'm already playing really well, just coming off the bench. I hit a grand slam. I'm running around the bases. I get to second base. I lose all feeling in my right leg. So much like I walked up here today with a limp, I kind of pimped it, around the bases, hoping that nobody knew anything was wrong. Well, that was the beginning of the end of my pro career. I played a little bit longer, but I ended up having a major back surgery, and I found myself lost. My identity was lost because I'd identified my whole life with success in baseball. And so I'm in a big city. I've got this new job that I don't have the emotional energy for, and I start to find myself taking the shortcut to immediate gratification and temporary comforts. And that came in the form of sexual novelty and substances. Because sometimes you got to use the substances to numb out and to feel okay about making these decisions that 10 years prior I would have looked at myself and said, I'll never do that. I'll never darken the door of a place like that. But I did darken those doors. And life became very painful. But the pain was a gift. Because that pain was the fertile soil from which my recovery could grow. And when I looked in the mirror during those tough times where I was really, going in a direction I knew that was wrong, I didn't recognize the person who was looking back. My life was getting smaller and smaller by the day, and I knew it. So it was going to require some hard choices. And I knew that I was going to have to step into those hard choices. So I began to get counseling. I began to tell the truth. I began to seek out help. And it got harder before it got easier. And I knew that I was going to eventually have to tell the person that would hurt the most about my acting out behaviors, and that was going to be my wife. And so after counseling and after getting to a pretty healthy place, I'll never forget sitting down with her, my beautiful wife. I wish I had a picture. And having to tell her all the things that I had done. And we had to walk through that painful road together. But I can tell you guys this. By taking those steps and by telling the truth, getting honest, I now have the most wonderful relationship with her and with my two little boys that I've ever had in my entire life. That's God. That's God. And I want to say that before I told her, many on my team, friends, acquaintances, many of them told me not to tell the truth to my wife. They felt that maybe that some decisions like that, the pain could just be too great. But instead, I trusted the still small voice in my heart, okay? And then I saw what was going on in this nation. Now, I've been attracted to truth my whole life. Whether I've walked in it always or not is a different matter. But as I looked around the world, especially starting in 2020, like a lot of you, that woke us up, right? Well, I had already gone through my period of personal pain and telling the truth and getting recovery and seeing the fruit that comes from getting honest. So I knew I've got two little boys at home now. They're going to grow up in the world that we leave for them. There's a blanket of mass deception going on. We were seeing mass formation psychosis before we'd heard that word, right? So I knew that I needed to step into this. So I launched a platform a year ago called JSlay USA. You can find me on almost any platform. I'd prefer it if you go to Rumble and look me up on there, JSlay USA. I interview bold and courageous leaders and experts in their field who are not afraid to take a stand. But enough on that. It was the same thing, though. Many on my team, friends, acquaintances, many of them told me not to make the choice to leave my steady job with a stable income. But I knew in my heart that this is what I had to do. So I stepped into it. Now, I've got 5 minutes left. I better hurry up. Those principles that apply to my personal recovery, I think they apply to the recovery of our world. We have to get truthful. We have to get honest. Ronald Reagan in 1964 said, "This is a time for choosing." And I think his words are as relevant today as they were then, maybe more so. Reagan said, "There's not a man alive who would carelessly send another person's son to war." And that is the real issue that makes all of the problems we might discuss academic. Unless we realize that we're in a war that must be won. Those of us who would trade in our freedoms for the soup kitchen of the welfare state have told us that they have a utopian solution of peace without victory. They call their policy accommodation. And they say if we'll only avoid any direct confrontation with this enemy, well, they'll forget their evil ways and learn to love us. It's not true, is it? So we have to stand up and tell the truth. And it's so sad because leaders, religious leaders, from the Catholic Pope to many of the greatest minds in Christian Protestantism, have chosen that path of accommodation, of appeasement. And you know who sees that? The enemy, Satan. He looks at us and he knows the decision that we're going to make, because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better red than dead. Or as one recent commentator put it, I'd rather live with my mask on my knees than die standing on my feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices, they don't speak for the people in this room, do they? This standing up for truth goes for our beautiful, beloved Constitution as well. Do we even believe in the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness any longer? You know, there's no coincidence why it's in that order. Because without your life, you can have no liberty. And without your liberty, there can be no happiness. Winston Churchill said, "The destiny of man cannot be measured in material computations." When great forces are on the move throughout this world, we learn that we are spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which for you and I in this room, that spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to 1,000 years of darkness. We're at war now with the greatest enemy that's ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said that if we lose this war, and in so doing lose this great way of freedom of ours, history's going to record with the greatest astonishment that those of us that had the most to lose did the least to prevent it from happening. My fellow Christian warriors, set yourselves apart from this crooked and depraved generation. Be saints. We weren't made to fit in. We were born to stand out. And that is the freedom I wish for all of you. Freedom from sin. Freedom from our weaknesses. Freedom from the slavery that sin produces in all of us. That is the freedom worth dying for. It kind of reminds me of the words Mel Gibson intoned in his Academy Award-winning film, Braveheart. When he stood before his ragtag army, and he said to them, as I'm going to say to you today. Now, should I do it in a Scottish accent? That's what my dad said. Wallace said, I see before me an army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You have come to fight as free men, and free men you are. What would you do without freedom? Will you fight? This man says, no, against that we will run, and we will live. Aye, fight and you may die. Run and you'll live for at least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom? Every man dies. Not every man really lives. You. We must fight for that authentic freedom and live, my friends. By God, we must live. And with Christ as your sword and the Holy Spirit as your shield, may you join Saint Michael and all the angels in defending God's truth and sending Lucifer and his henchmen straight right back to hell where they belong. We are entering the storm of all storms. Yes, the storm is upon us, but not without our rudder, Jesus. And in the words of Reagan, evil is powerless if the good are unafraid. God bless you.
Quick question. What was that injury? What happened there?
The one on the screen? I think I pulled my what's this? Calf. Yeah, a calf pull.
An early morning pride injury?
Massive.
Okay, let's hear it for him. Thank you for pushing through the pain. That was awesome.
This should be a matter of concern to us all. A country is as strong, really, as its citizens. And I think that mental and physical health, mental and physical vigor, go hand in hand. I hope that we will not find a day in the United States when all of us are spectators, except for a few who are out on the field.
Hello, friend. I'm Jeremy Sladen, the head coach and founder of the Warrior Mind, Body, and Soul Experience, or Warrior MBS for short. Now, if you're watching this video, I want to congratulate you because there's a good chance that you're looking to level up with some needed improvements in your physical, mental, or spiritual life, or maybe you need a complete reset in all three. Either way, I personally believe there has never been a better time for you to make this move, and here's why. Because the world needs you badly right now. Our culture is in full-scale attack mode on what it even means to be a man. Testosterone levels have dropped by 50% since the 1940s. Transgender indoctrination is running rampant in government schools. And true masculinity is retreating into these pathetic spaces like beer-soaked man caves that lack any real connection. Now, all this gender bending has men questioning who they are and how to fulfill their sacred roles in life as fathers, husbands, and community leaders. The uncertainty and celebration of weakness is shaking the very foundations of our society, so the demand for men of strength and spiritual grounding is going through the roof. This is men who are awake to themselves, available to their families, men who are physically capable, of sound mind, and spiritually connected to the Father above, who provides the way, the truth, and the life. Warrior MBS is all about unlocking and unleashing these kinds of men. So if you meet the application criteria and join, you will enter a community of like-minded Christian men who are encouraging, competitive, and committed to reaching their own goals and then helping you reach yours over a 70-day period. Now, if you already know that this is completely for you, you can click the Join Our Group button to apply for the next round. If you've got more questions, I've provided 2 links below where you can either book a call with me directly or you can read the Warrior MBS manual for all the details about the experience. I look forward to hearing from you, and regardless of what you're facing in life, you are a warrior and you have what it takes. Just make the decision.
I'm so grateful I joined this group. I feel definitely clear mentally. Spiritually, I feel more grounded and in tune with who God made me to be. And physically, I feel like incredible. I'm so grateful that Jeremy put this together. It's given me the chance to meet other like-minded guys that love Jesus, love our country, and just want to be good men. So it's changed my life. I think it has potential to